If you were a part of the listening audience back just a few years ago when we went through a study of the Gospel of John, then you are probably familiar with the plot. And when I say the plot, I'm talking about those who had decided to kill Jesus from the very beginning of his ministry. And it's interesting to me that when Jesus made his triumphant entry into the city of Jerusalem, there was a crowd of people there who were very, very enthusiastic. And they were shouting and praising and dancing and singing and just full of awe and adoration for this man Jesus who had just come through these gates riding on a donkey. But there are also those in the crowds. They are known as Pharisees, and they were not happy about this display that they were seeing, and they said to Jesus, these are the words that they spoke. They said, "Master, make them stop." In other words, all of this emotion and all of this celebration, make them stop. And this is what Jesus said to them. He said that if you don't like this, then what you need to know is that if I cause them to stop praising me, then the stones will. In other words, the rocks will cry out, because this that is taking place here is the will of God. This is the plan of God. This is the work of the ministry of God unfolding before their very, very eyes. And yes, as it says in the Revelation, the mighty Lion of the tribe of Judah, he's worthy to be praised. You see, the ministry of Jesus Christ bridged off the ministry of John the Baptist. And we read about this in the early days in the Gospel of Mark, and how it was that John, who said, "I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness, make straight their paths." And then he said to Jesus, as he saw Jesus passing by, he says, "He must increase, I must decrease." So John knew what his role was. He was to prepare the way for the coming of the Messiah. And another time as Jesus passed by, he said, "Behold, the Lamb of God that taketh away the sins of the world." And Mark tells us in the Gospel of Mark that at that time there were some of the disciples of John who left following John and began to follow Jesus. And one of those was Andrew, one of the disciples. And of course we know that Andrew went and found his brother Peter and said, "I have found the Messiah." And I was somewhat intrigued as we were studying through the Gospel of Mark, and how that was that first there was Andrew, Peter, James, and John. And they were the early disciples of Jesus. And one of the first things that Jesus did is he took them to the synagogue and he preached. And they all said, "Never have we ever heard anybody who could speak like this man." This is Pastor Jack King with the gospel on the radio broadcast.